All right, what is going on, guys? We are on official episode 2, I guess, of our new podcast, Thinking on the Toilet. I'm your co-host, Chad, and with me, as always, he's drinking.
David.
David from Snack Addicted. So yeah, first episode was just out of the fly, improvised. I always wanted to do a podcast with David about basically mindset and just thinking and how to do business or just everyday life, right? Mm-hmm. And we just kind of did a sample recording at a shop not too long ago, and I decided hey, let's just post it because there's a lot of value in here. And it was only supposed to be a test run of maybe 10 minutes or so, and it turned out almost an hour, and we couldn't even stop talking.
That never happens, right? 10 minutes.
Yeah, it almost didn't stop. So
that's trippy.
And so we're gonna continue it, and this is episode 2. And what were your initial thoughts of the first episode, or what was your reaction, or what did people tell you when they saw clips of it and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, it's pretty neat because a lot of people are they don't know where to turn, for things, to hear things like that, because their friends are their friends, and a lot of people feel like there's this barrier between talking about deep things like that, right? People are oh, that's weird. Why are you talking to me about that kind of stuff? Why are you talking about your feelings and things like that?
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of people are really thankful. Wow, where would we have gotten this kind of stuff? Where you guys talk like that. I'm yeah, that's pretty much why we decided to try to do it. Yeah.
Right. I mean, I remember we were talking about it too, and the whole concept is we're not trying to tell you guys or people what to do. We basically want to just explain from our own experiences of what we went through, and hopefully through that, you guys can basically kind of be a fly in the wall of our conversations, mm-hmm. and just gather your own info and take things from it and apply it to yourselves, and that's what we hope to do with this. I don't want you guys going into it thinking that we're telling you hey, do this, because that's the one thing I think a lot of people don't like to hear is you telling them mm-hmm. Hey, just do it like this or do it like this and it'll be okay. It's no, it's not, it doesn't work like that, you know what I mean? So I hope people will take what we say here and what we converse here, and just apply it to their own if you want to. Mm-hmm. But yeah, let me just jump right into one of the topics I've been thinking about recently, and just because this is the starter kind of episodes we did, and we never, we just hopped right into it in the first episode.
Yeah, right.
But we never really got to not really introduce ourselves, because what I mean, if people want to know about that, there's a lot of ways you guys learn about that. But I want to know about, since this is more of a mindset kind of podcast or video, how did you become self-aware of yourself? How did you get to that point when your mentality shifted of being thinking more about how your mind works or how people behave or mm-hmm. Things like that? When did it first come up for you?
Definitely, and I talked about it before. My dad passing away, and it's funny that we do it now because we're talking about it, because actually this is the time when he got sick.
Oh, around this time.
It was Christmas, right before Christmas, a week before Christmas. And Christmas was his favorite holiday. And it's funny because I stopped liking Christmas for a while because it reminded me of that, yeah. And he thought he had the flu. So we have Christmas dinner at my mom's house all the time. And he actually stayed in his room. He just was sick, and the doctors weren't open because it's Christmas time. So after Christmas,
how old was he?
What was he? I forget. He was maybe 50, young,
50s.
Late, early 50s.
Early 50s.
And we ended up taking him to the doctor, and after Christmas and stuff. And the doctor said, "Oh, we can't figure out what's wrong with you. It must be the flu or something like that." So they sent him back home, and my dad was like, "Man, something is wrong. I just don't feel right. Something is not right." So my sister ended up taking him to the doctor again. And so he didn't have time to grab anything, right? His clothes or whatever. Because he thought it was just another doctor thing where he was going to say, no, I just really don't.
It was just a visit, right?
Yeah,
right.
Another one. And then they did something and they found it. And they're like, oh, crap. We got to send you to the ER right now. So he went.
Oh, what did they find?
It was the cancer. So I think they were explaining it where his cancer was on top of his organ. So usually, I guess they check for cancer inside the organ or something. I'm not really sure. But because it was on top, they didn't see it initially. But they saw, I think, that and tumors in his intestine. And the good part was, well, the good and bad part was he only lived 2 weeks from finding
wow,
it.
that fast.
Only 5% of people who have cancer have that kind of cancer, and
Wow.
it's super aggressive.
Right.
And so, the good part was that he didn't have to, live out like struggling, going to chemotherapy and all that stuff. The bad part was he went so quick
Yeah, it's quick.
that I didn't even have time to think. But I went to the hospital every day, and
How old were you at the time?
that was 2002.
Okay.
I forget how old I was. I'm 41 now, so yeah,
Minus.
you can do the math. But
Okay.
I was basically, where was I working at the time?
Well, let's say
Asian
mid
things.
30s, right? Mid
think so,
30s, mid
yeah.
30s, yeah. Mid or late. Okay, just to give context of
Early 30s, I think.
early, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can't do math, guys.
I know, I'm
we
so
can't do
burnt
math,
already.
guys.
Christmas time is our busiest time.
But
Yeah.
no, just to give people context. So like,
Yeah,
let's
yeah,
just say
yeah,
30s,
yeah.
right? Just so,
Yeah.
just to put people in that perspective
Right.
during that age too, or whatever,
Yeah.
But so like, okay, you're 30s, and then this happens.
Right.
Now what's going on through your
Then
head?
you realize that, like I always say, nothing in life matters except my dad getting better, my dad living, and you cannot fathom that thought unless you go through it. I mean, just nothing matters. I didn't care about work. I didn't care about money. I didn't care about my house or my mom's house. I lived there at the time. I didn't care about anything, not even my relationship with anybody, because all I wanted was just for him to get better. I just wanted him to be alive. And he ended up passing away, and we had his funeral. And his funeral, the line went out the door at Diamond Head Mortuary. And what was happening was people were paying their respects to him and then coming to me and telling me that, oh, your dad did this for me, and your dad did that for me. Everybody had something to say about what my dad did for them. And then I realized at that moment, like, I think this is my goal. Like, I want to do this and have people tell my daughters, your dad did this, and he did this for me, and he helped me, and that's a great feeling, just to feel like, wow, my dad was somebody. He helped people. Even the groundskeeper people came up and they're like, oh, was your dad a celebrity or something? And I was like, no. He owned his own business, but they're like, wow, this is like one of the most longest lines we've seen here. Like, he went down to the parking lot. And yeah, I just, and so, okay, I went through that. And then I thought, yeah, maybe that's a good way of thinking. But I didn't really get it until my mom went into ICU.
Wow.
So my mom had walking pneumonia. The day my daughter was born, she went to the hospital because she was dizzy. Not because of her breathing, but then when they checked her out, I think there was only a small percentage of her lung that wasn't filled with fluid. So she was in the ICU for 3 months. And I thought, oh, here we go again. Same thing again. Nothing else matters except my mom getting better. I said, you took my dad, please just help this. If you can help my mom, like, just let her live, then I will change everything. I don't care. Like, I will take what I've learned from my dad's thing, and I'm gonna take what I learned now and just live that life. That's all that matters. And then going through that, you kind of realize, like, okay, life is not about me, because me by myself, as much money as I would have or anything, it doesn't matter, because that's not gonna save my mom. So I realized, if that happens to me and I'm dying, what's gonna happen? What matters, right? How am I gonna leave my legacy? And it's not gonna be money. It's not gonna be houses and stuff like that. It's gonna be, to me, helping people, like really motivating people, maybe saying something that will change somebody's view in life, that will kind of pull them out of that hole or something,
Yeah.
Just to make that little difference. I realized that that's the most important thing, because that's how you want to be remembered. Not like, oh yeah, that's the guy that drove that Mercedes, or that's the guy that drove the Lamborghini. That fades, right? But that's the guy who gave me something that, man, it just helped me out so much at that time. And now I think this way. And whenever bad things happen, I remember what he said, and it's not that bad. I just realized, like, it's all for a reason. And so, whether that's true or not, like I always say, like, it's easier to live that way, huh?
Right.
Yeah.
But were you, like, before all that happened, was your mentality much different before?
It was,
Like, how were you before that? Like, you didn't care kind of thing, or it's like you were just living for yourself kind of thing?
It was more about, Well, I used to drive a drop Civic before. I used to drift.
Oh, okay.
I used to drift and stuff.
Yeah,
And it was about trying to get like better headers, getting better exhaust from my car, getting the suspension, you know, getting the stabilizing bars and stuff. That's what I was about, you know, like.
And was that getting that to for yourself, or you're just trying to impress other people or others
Both.
by getting those things?
Honestly, it was both. It was for myself to feel like, you know,
like I'm doing something. 'Cause I
right,
got
like
this.
how far can I push myself with my
Right.
car, and
Yeah.
and then you realize like that's dangerous. Like what the hell was I thinking, right?
Yeah.
Like that was back in college, and yeah, like the money I would get, I would just spend. Like I was living paycheck to paycheck, but I was working at Eggs and Things, and I was working at Koaloha, I think. So I was making quite a bit of money. Like I've always had 2 to 3 jobs my whole life. It's kind of weird, and I just really like to work. But all my money I would just blow wherever, you know. And you kind of look back and you're like, geez, I could have been saving that, you know.
Right.
I could have saved it for a down payment on a house or something, but no, it went to my car. It went to, I don't know, going out to the clubs and drinking all the time, and you know, stuff like that. Like,
Right.
you realize, man, I gotta do something else, you know, with my money. Like, what can I do?
Do you think like that, like, because that feels like the whole like growing up thing, right?
Yeah.
It's like, do you think that's like you just get tired of it and then you just want something new, or is it like more so like you're actually trying to better yourself? You know what I mean? Like in your mindset when stuff like that happens, when you're like, I could spend my money on a home or whatever like that, or buy a home, save my money for a home. Like, is that you actually rationalizing, being like, I should start doing this, or is it more like I'm tired of buying parts for cars, or I got everything, or, you know what I mean? Like, is that kind of like a little bit
You know,
of
it's a
both?
little
Sometimes
bit
I
of
think it's
both,
like a little
yeah.
bit of both, right? Because even for me,
Yeah.
like a good example would be for me, like even recently, I used to, like when I was younger, or like even during high school, like I'd play like a lot of video games, right? Like
Yeah.
I'd even like have every single Nintendo console that came out, and I still do. I still try to get everything, but like as I grew older, you know, I kind of like stopped playing as much, and it's not necessarily like I don't enjoy the games, right? It's just because like I don't know, like, you know, you just get kind of like half of it is like you're kind of bored with it. You did
Yeah.
everything already, but at the same time, it's like, you know, maybe you're thinking in the back of your like, I can't always be doing like playing games all the time too, right? So I think it's weird how it's a little bit of both, right? But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's kind of interesting how when you think of like growing up, when you say growing up, it's like I think half of it comes with like you just get bored of your old self,
Yeah.
right? And you want to move on to something else. And I think that exciting new look on things, you're like, let me see what's going on over here, right?
Yeah.
So like how did that apply to you in terms of like after you got done doing your car thing, then you're like, all right, what am I gonna do now? Like, you know?
Yeah, you know, it's funny because even after my car thing, I still was kind of like blowing my money on stupid stuff, and I don't even remember what it was. Because I mean, we used to drink, but not really heavily. I never did drugs or anything like that. But now I think of it, I don't even know where my money went. Maybe food, I don't know. We used to
Probably
eat,
food.
like,
I mean, I
expensive
spend a
places.
lot of money on food, yeah.
Yeah, you know, so it's not like I was rich, but I think it was that point of like, okay, how much longer am I gonna live with my mom, you know, and how much longer am I gonna have her take care of me, because
Right.
I'm gonna have to start changing something, you know, because eventually I will have to move out, you know. I mean, not that I had to. She'd probably let me live there forever
Right.
if I could, but
But see, like even that, right? Like that's because maybe you had a reason to move out. Like you wanted to move out yourself.
yeah,
right?
I didn't.
You know what I'm saying?
I didn't want to.
Or like she kind of
No,
forced you
no,
out
no.
or
Actually,
something?
the reason why I moved out was because I met my wife.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that's a cool story because we
Okay.
were friends for like 10 years. It's really fun. We knew each other for 10 years, and she knew me as a friend, right?
Okay.
And I think I moved to Japan. And when I came back, that's when she kind of got interested in me because I was really skinny before I went to Japan, like super skinny. And yeah, when I came back, we were at this bar and she was there. And she was asking her friend, hey, who's that with, you know, all my other friends? Like, oh, that's David. And she's like, what? Really? He got bigger, right? I mean, I used to lift up in Japan and stuff too.
Yeah.
And I guess my metabolism slowed down, but then we started kind of talking and we started dating. So we dated for about, man, I think another 8 years or so. And then we got married. But that's why I moved out of my mom's, because I started dating my wife and she had her own place. She was living at her, renting from her grandmother who passed away.
Right.
yeah, so I kind of moved out, and you grow up really quick.
Yeah.
When
right.
you move out, you grow up really quick, right? Because now your money is going to rent, it's going to food, it's going to, you know, laundry detergent.
Right.
You know, some people don't even realize that. Like, man, I gotta go buy Tide today. You know, like, Mom, where are you?
And it adds up too. Like
Tide?
sometimes, like
Oh, man.
even when you just like grab the basic necessities and then you go to the checkout, then you're like,
Yeah.
wait a minute, what? Like $100 right? My total,
Yeah,
like
right?
It adds up, right?
Oh my God.
And sometimes you don't even think it's that much too, right?
Uh-huh.
Sometimes, and it's trippy, like how it turns out that way.
That's
But,
right.
yeah.
Living with your parents is a blessing. Yeah,
People don't realize it.
No,
Yeah.
yeah, we talk about that the first episode, and it is.
Right.
It's hard living by yourself, you know. Especially, oh man, when we started the business. Even now, I mean, I have so many bills still yet. I mean,
Right.
you just never realize how much money you really need. You
Yeah,
know, like
that's
you
true.
think like, oh, I don't have to pay rent. I don't have to pay for food. I can go home. My mom's gonna cook dinner or whatever. Let me
Right.
just buy this. Let me buy that. But now it's like, wait, I can't buy that because rent is coming up, and you know, wait, we don't have money for food, and I can't go to my mom's. Oh, I could, but you know,
Yeah.
it makes you grow up, I guess. You know,
Right.
yeah. So it's kind of neat how that works. You know, you kind of grow up because you have to sometimes, right? But I really have admiration for people who just grow up by themselves, who don't have that situation, who still live with their parents, but still just want to better themselves, right? Want to have this motivation, this foresight to like, okay, let's stop messing around and let's start planning for for my future, kind of thing, you know? Because that's hard to do.
Yeah.
You know, you're always dependent on your parents, and yeah, when the time comes, either you're gonna be ready or not.
Mm.
Yeah.
I think sometimes too, like a lot of like people wanting to like do their own thing or
Mm.
things like that, maybe like move out or whatever, or
Mhm.
just go off on their own, is half of it maybe comes with like maybe having a chip on their shoulder too, maybe. You know, like
Mhm.
sometimes like you get bombarded by like so much of like social norms of like being like, hey, what, like you're this age, like why are you still living with your
Yeah,
parents and stuff like that,
yeah,
right? Like
yeah.
that's always a thing too, and I don't like that too, like how that's a thing where it's like
Yeah.
it's like, oh, by this age you should be doing this,
Mhm.
you should be doing this, you should be out of your parents' house, you should be married, you should be, you know, you should be successful by this
Mhm.
age, blah blah blah, all of this, right? And it's like I don't get it, like why is that such a thing? Maybe it's because I don't know. And it's usually from the older generation that would tell you that, like, oh, how come you're not married, or how come you're not this, right? And it's like
Mhm.
maybe because during their age they were at, you know,
Mm-hmm.
married by that time, married by like 25 or something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And had kids or all of that, but like it's different, right?
Right, because people gotta realize we have new medications, we have things that keep us alive longer, right? Back in the
Right.
day, people's lifespans were shorter, right?
Right.
Um,
Because like I have a good example would be like, from my own personal, like my grandma would always call us from the Philippines, and she would always ask me like, oh, like, you know, like, how are you, and you know, do you have, first thing they would ask is like, do you have a girlfriend? And it's like they would have to tell them like, no. They're like, oh, how come? And it's like, you know, and I'd just be like, oh, because I'm busy trying to do the brand and stuff like that, or just,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
like,
mhm.
you know, live life or whatever. They just,
Mhm.
mainly I'm more focused on just doing the brand, right?
Yeah.
But they don't understand that, right? It's like that doesn't trump
Mhm.
like you just getting a girlfriend, like,
Right,
you know what
right,
I mean? Like,
right,
like that'll
yeah.
solve everything if you
Yeah.
just get a girlfriend or get married or something like that,
Yeah.
right? Versus you actually, like, I could probably like be successful and have like, you know, like have a house and all of that, whatever. But then they would still call, be like, hey, did you get a girlfriend yet or something? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
That's so
yeah,
weird, like
yeah.
how that just trumps everything. I'm like,
You know, I think
but
because
I never get phased by it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like, I feel like some people could fall into that trap of being like, you know, am I supposed to be at this point in my life? Like, you know?
Yeah.
Right? And it's weird how that happens. And that's just from my own experience, like how I don't think age really matters in terms of like what you're trying
it
to do,
shouldn't.
right?
It shouldn't. You know, so the reason why they do that, especially your grandparents, is because they're getting older and they want grandchildren.
I can understand
And
that.
then, you know, it's
right.
like, yeah, I see that side of it, but
But you can't rush things too.
do not. That's my rule.
Right.
Is you do not rush anything,
Right.
Because you're going to try to settle for someone who just doesn't let you be yourself, and then getting a divorce is super messy, right? Like
Right.
that's the one thing I never wanted was to get divorced. So I have stupid rules, and I don't even know how I came up with this stupid rule.
You have
but
rules? Okay.
yes, when I was in high school, I would never sleep with a girl unless we were dating for 2 months. I had a 2-month rule.
Interesting. Okay.
And it was because I saw my friends with these girlfriends and sleeping around and stuff like that, and then the girls would get all pissed, and there would be like really bad conflict, right?
Right.
It complicates things. So I wanted people to get to know who I was, and I wanted to get to know who they were without that in the middle of it, and let that be why
The
we're
only
together.
reason why, yeah.
Right? Like, to me, if I'm gonna date somebody or I'm gonna, have a girlfriend, I have to know who they are, and they have to know who I am, and we have to make sure that we're okay with that, And if they're not, and like sex is only keeping us together, you're not gonna be happy, So
Right.
that was I don't even know how I came up with that thing. That was back in high school. Still,
Yeah.
And that's kind of why my wife trusts me so much.
Mm.
Because she knows, I've had a lot of opportunities, especially when we were hanging out as friends and stuff like that too.
Right.
Fool around and stuff, but I never did, and she knew that. So that's why, I can go wherever, and she's cool with it. I can even sleep over my friend's house or whatever, not call her,
Right.
and then come home and she's like, "Oh, how was it? I hope you were safe." I was like, "Oh yeah, I slept with my friend." "Oh yeah." Pretty cool." Because she knows that I don't know why I'm like that. I just wouldn't do that, Yeah. Actually, I might know. My first girlfriend cheated on me twice.
Mm.
And I think it was because of that, because I know what that feels like, that I wouldn't want somebody else to go through that. It's bad, right? I mean, when you get cheated on, it's like you feel insufficient. I wasn't good enough. What was wrong with me? How come she wasn't so interested in me that she didn't want to look at other places? Then you start picking
Right.
on yourself. But I just realized, just sometimes people want to see what's on the other side of the fence, right?
Mhm.
And it's bad. And I learned, you shouldn't beat yourself up about it, because there is somebody who's gonna just be with you.
What's so funny that you talk about that, and I have a short list of topics that I
Cool.
want to we'll go through eventually.
Yeah.
I just list them down every time I'm
Mhm.
I come up with an idea. Usually in the shower I'm over there I gotta write this down. As soon as I can, I go write it down or something. But tying into that, I have one where it's why do you think there's that norm of nice guys finishing last thing, where it's they feel I was so nice to this person or this girl or guy, whatever, that and it didn't work out. Then they're it was because I was a nice guy, and that's why they didn't, go out with me or something, or we didn't end up together or whatever. There's that weird kind of,
Yep.
people. I would say that's an excuse. I'd like to think it's an excuse, because I don't think that exists at all. There's no such thing as a nice guys finish last thing, people like to say. But
Yeah.
I don't know, what is your take on that? Why do people have that mentality of nice guys finish last, I'm always nice to the person, but nothing ever happens, or nothing comes good out of me being nice to someone, and then they just reject me in the end. What do you think about that?
It's funny because I used to say that about myself
Mm.
back then, right? I'm a nice guy. I don't sleep around with girls. Just, to sleep around or whatever.
And they get upset too when they see the girl end up with someone that they think is a douchebag or right?
But just, some men and some women just aren't ready to have that committed relationship, because you got to realize, when you get married, you're only with that person. That's it. So you don't get to experience being with other people, what other people are like.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why you shouldn't get married early. I say wait till you're 30, till you're later, because then you know what you want and you can handle that for the rest of your life. That's what you got to think about marriage. Marriage is not dating. It's not it's not working out, I don't like you anymore, let's get divorced. It shouldn't be like that. But
Right.
that's why the divorce rate is so high, because people just jump into it. They think it's so easy. But dating somebody, let's say 10 years, when you get married, it changes. Then when you have kids, it changes, right? So when you're dating, you gotta make sure, and this is things you have to think about if you want to get married, is, can I see myself living with this person for the rest of my life? Can I see myself sleeping with this person and only this person for the rest of my life? Because if you're not, or even a little bit I'm not sure, then you're not ready.
Right.
You're not ready, because when you get married, you are gonna have problems and you're gonna argue a lot, and you may not realize it, but it's because you're not satisfied with that relationship, because you still might want to know what it's like to eat filet mignon, because
Right.
maybe you're eating chicken, right?
But why do you think there's that mentality from the person's perspective of being I was
nice guy.
nice, right? The nice guy
Yeah.
part. Why do you think they blame the other person? They blame the girl or the guy. They
Yeah.
blame them instead of thinking about maybe it's themselves. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
They like to find an excuse like, oh, I was nice. I did nothing wrong. Like, you know,
Yeah.
like I did nothing wrong. So like, why shouldn't the girl like me?
Right.
And I think that either comes with like maybe entitlement, right? They're like entitled to something, I guess, in
Mhm.
their mind. They're like, oh, I did this, this, and this. I'm entitled to something, right?
Mhm.
But like, no, you're not, right?
Right. So with that too, it's you're nice, but maybe we'll speak in terms of if it's me.
Okay.
Maybe the girl just wasn't ready for a relationship. Maybe you guys were good together, but just not at that time, not at that age, because maybe she needed to go out and experience things. You needed to go out and experience things, but you're trying to make it work. Like, no, we are only 18 years old and we're gonna get married.
Right.
But I'm telling you, like,
Well-
nobody's really ready to get married that young because you used to have so much to experience.
But what about in terms of like, what if the girl just didn't like you too?
That
Right?
happens.
That's what I'm saying, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
even
yeah.
that too, right? Like what if that too, and then you still want to put the blame on, you know, what I mean, either them or circumstances or the other guy they end up with or
Mhm.
something like that, and then you don't want to put maybe the blame on yourself, being like, maybe we just weren't meant to be together. You know what I mean? You're so caught up
Yeah.
and entitled to being like, I did so much or I
Yeah.
did this, that. No, like it should work out
Mhm.
this way, right? Because if I put enough effort or do this, you know,
Mhm.
or maybe I seen it in a movie or something, like I do this and then it should happen.
Yeah.
It's like it doesn't work that way, guys. Right?
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like
And so like I said, I used to think like that back in high school. Like, oh, I'm really nice and stuff like that. But gotta realize that sometimes it's just not the right time, and sometimes you can be as nice as you want, but maybe the person's not ready, you know. And then that's why they kind of drift apart. You drift apart, and then you start saying, "Oh, but I was nice, and I did this, and I did that." Well, look at yourself. Yes, you might have done everything you can, but were you controlling? Were you not letting her be who she really wanted to be? Are you stopping her from being with her friends, stopping her from enjoying life? Like, oh, you can't go to the club. There's a lot of factors to it, but there's always two sides, I believe. Even when my girlfriend was cheating on me, when like my first girlfriend, there's stuff that I probably could have done. I never really went back and like thought about that part, but
yeah.
I never did really say like, oh, but I was a nice guy and stuff like that, because I don't know, to me it's like
You never made
You
an
just-
excuse, I think, is what you just
I did in the beginning.
Oh,
But,
okay.
yeah, eventually. Yeah, of course everybody has
then
to.
you
right?
learn, you
Like,
learn. Right?
Yeah, but to me it's like, okay, she just wasn't 100% happy with me.
Mm.
And I don't know why, but maybe she was happy. Maybe she was happy like being with all these other people. Maybe that's what made her happy at the time, right? Like girls go crazy sometimes, you know, and just like want to party, want to have fun, and then when they get older, then they kind of settle down. Then it's the time where if you were that nice guy here, it would have worked. But over here, it's like, you know, they want to experience life. They want to be themselves, figure out who they are, and then it'll work, you know?
Right.
But to me, it's like timing and where you are in your life and what you want to learn and your experiences. Because if you keep trying to hold on to somebody who kind of is like, this is really good, this is really great, but what if this person, or, you know, what if this situation makes me happy too? And this and this. So that's why you got to kind of, not to say you got to let them go, but yeah, you kind of do. Because when they're ready, if it was meant to be, it comes back, right?
Right.
If not, then she found out, like maybe she doesn't like filet mignon. Maybe she likes chicken.
Right.
Yeah, or you don't really know unless you experience it, right? So
I think the
yeah.
lesson to be learned about that is basically like just keep being nice.
yeah,
Like, you know
no,
what I mean?
yeah,
Like,
yeah, exactly.
Don't think that, oh, I have to be a dick or an asshole to end up, you know what I mean? Because that's what some
Right.
people think, right? They have their mentality like, oh, I'm gonna be like them too. Then if they're the ones getting all the chicks, or all
Yeah,
that,
and that's what you don't
then
want.
you
to
don't want to
happen,
do that.
yeah.
Just keep being nice, be yourself, and eventually it'll come. Like,
Well, that's
you
the
know?
thing too, right? You gotta be yourself. You
Right.
cannot be nice because you think that's what the girl wants, because you're not gonna be happy, because now you're trying to conform to what the girl wants from you. Oh, I'm gonna be extra nice. Oh, I'm gonna open your car door. I'm gonna do, you know, I mean, that's great and
Right.
all, but I mean, is that really you,
Mm.
right? Because a lot of guys will be like, oh, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna take my jacket off, put it on the puddle, and let her walk through, and oh, there goes my damn jacket. But I think a lot of times guys are caught up in trying to overdo it because they think that that's how the girl will like them more. But the girl will like you by who you are. She has to like you for who you are. Because when you get married and you're living with each other, you cannot keep that image of yourself up. You can't. Eventually you become yourself. So that's why my other rule, I have to be dating somebody for 2 years before I even think about getting married and living with somebody. Because when you live with somebody, it's totally different.
It's different, yeah.
Right? Like, they leave their clothes around, or okay, that's me. They leave the clothes around and don't, like just, I'm messy. I am.
Right.
But if you're dating, you don't live with each other, you don't know those little quirks, that you each have. And you can only hide your niceness or whatever for so long. But when you see the person every day, you're living with the person, eventually you can't hide it. You just become who you are, right? So if you're not a nice guy, then they'll see it. And then that's when you'll start doing that, or they'll accept you and you get closer and accept that you're messy. Accept that you're grouchy sometimes.
Your habits,
you're right,
habits, right?
Yeah, but it's just, you have to experience it to know, right? That's why I don't like when people just jump into things. I mean, a lot of times it works, sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah.
But it's like a guessing game, right? Like, let me jump into the water. I don't know how deep it is, but I'm just gonna go. Boom. Oh no, I broke my tailbone or something.
Well, yeah, I think it's more like you still have to have the courage to jump, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that should be a thing. But I guess it's more like you need to make calculated jumps.
Right.
Right.
And I guess my point is, you gotta try to be yourself as much as possible.
Yeah.
In a relationship.
Right.
Especially in the beginning of a relationship, because it's when you not able to keep it up and you kind of go back to who you are, the other person will say, you changed. It's not that you changed. You just became yourself. Also, I guess you did change. You changed back into yourself, because you can only be this fake person for so long. You can only try to overly be nice to people for so long, but if you're living with them and everything like that, it wears out, and you just become who you are.
Right.
Yeah.
Nice. Let me try. Well, I got these new pork rinds from Snack Addicted shop over here. We're actually recording in his shop right now, and I want to try one, but shameless plug. Come over here, guys. Pick up his what is this, dill pickle?
Yeah.
Dill pickle, pork rinds. I never tried his pork rinds. Pork rinds is really good, but
it's funny, those things, they sell out like quick.
Yeah, no, that's why. Like, I've never got to try, because every time I come, it's already sold out. So,
you know what else is funny that I wanted to mention is that
definitely, mention it.
When we talk like this, this is actually how we talk. Like that day you came over and we talked like for how many hours?
Yeah.
Like, this is actually us talking. It's not because the camera's here and we're talking like in front of a camera. So this is like conversations that we would have whether the camera's here or not. And I was watching the other one and I was like, oh man, that's pretty crazy, yeah? Like how just naturally goes.
And you know what's funny too, and I wanted to mention this since this is the plugging section of the video, but if you guys want to have your own conversations with David, just come to the shop and he'll literally be the same like how I'm talking to you right now. Like, right? That's what I'm saying, right? So like you guys can have the same conversations with him too if you want, and ask him questions. Just come over to the shop. But where is it? Right above Ginza?
Yeah.
The old Ginza. If you guys don't know, right above the old Ginza, right across Ala Moana. Just come down. But yeah, let me just grab this water and we'll move into the next topic. But
it's so cool. Fred.
Oh,
Fred
yeah.
And his girlfriend is Janet. Yeah. They came in our first pop up and they brought me Zippy's, the Jello cream pie and apples. And I don't know why they brought those specific two things, but that's my favorite stuff.
How did they find out?
They just brought it.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I was so happy. But those are two awesome people. Like,
there's a Jello
cream pie.
Jello cream pie.
And apple apples.
And apple
Yeah, don't bring me that. No, I don't want anything. For real, don't bring me anything. I just mentioned it because that was pretty nuts that they brought those specific two things.
Get it forever.
No, please don't. I don't want anything. But they're amazing people. It's nuts because they come in and we hang out, and it's if I have time, right? So the last time they came, I was super busy, but they hung out with Jimmy, and then this time I had some time, and then we kind of got to hang out, and it's awesome when we hang out. Like, man, they're such amazing supporters, But that's the kind of people that come here, And I realized, like, after they left, I was like, man, I'm so lucky,
Right.
If it weren't for this company and everything, I wouldn't get to have those relationships, those conversations with people. You know, like this wouldn't even happen.
Right.
You know, so it's super hard to do what we do. It really is.
Oh yeah.
And there's so many times where I'm like, man, it's not even worth it. Let me just go market this some way so somebody just buys me out. But then I realized like I wouldn't be able to reach people like I do. I wouldn't get these conversations, these connections with people if it weren't for this store. So my goal in life has a lot to do with this and connecting with as much people as possible, you know? And it's neat because when we wear the shirt out sometimes, like you hear people like, oh, that's the guy, it's just, oh, that's Snack Addicted.
Right.
And it's really cool, but I think I want them to know what the company represents. It's not my popularity or you know who I am. It's a representation of living in this world with other people, and we all are connected, like I always say, so we should all help each other, you know?
Right.
So when you see the pink and black, it's like, oh yeah, that's a guy, right? Like he talks about helping people. Because, yeah, like we always say, you know, we have each other in this world. And you can be a good neighbor or a bad neighbor, so you might as well be the good one,
Yeah.
you know? Hopefully people turn into that, you know, and they make themselves be that way.
Mm-hmm.
But if they're not, then, you know, it's okay too. But yeah, just being yourself, but trying to be the best version of yourself, I think
Right.
is the whole message that I would want people to get. Yeah.
And even recently too, you've been helping out like the community, like I guess in a sense where you're doing pop-ups for like some of the artists, right? And you did
Yeah.
a pop-up recently with 7 Sketches.
7 Sketches, Everyday Better, 808 Funko Addict.
Yeah, that was last week, right?
Yeah.
And then this Saturday we're doing pop-up for me, Krabby
Yeah.
Kids, X-Ray Vision.
Yeah.
And
And
then
Jimmy.
you got Jimmy,
Well,
right?
Jimmy's always here anyway.
Jimmy's here, but you know, Jimmy's gonna be there too. So
Yep.
come down, guys. Saturday. What time are we gonna do?
11 to 4.
11 to 4. Come down. You know, hang out. Make another episode, maybe not with
I know,
everybody,
yeah.
right? Nah,
No, seriously.
that'd be cool.
Oh.
But you
Yeah.
know, come down, hang out, and then like let's just chat, man. You know.
Yeah.
But and I hope we do more of those too. So we'll see how it goes.
I know, like I was thinking about that. Like I wanna invite people to do this with us sometimes, you know, like people who have questions and stuff, just to get like a outside
Feedback.
perspective.
Yeah. I've been thinking about introducing something like that too. I used to ask people questions for the other podcasts, like that they would chime in their questions. I'm still trying to figure out best way to do that, and still I always want them to get used to what the format is, and then they ask those specific questions. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I don't want just random questions.
Yeah,
that they throw
yeah,
at you.
yeah.
I mean, like, hey, what's your favorite color or something?
Right,
You know what I mean?
right, right.
So I want them to get used to what the format actually is, and then I'll start seeing if they want to ask questions about it, because this is personal stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
like,
yeah.
You know, so obviously like I won't post who posted it or whatever like that, but like if they have a serious question, but that's why I kind of want to slowly introduce that kind of feedback. But I do want to introduce that eventually, where we'll get feedback from people and be like, if they have questions about things, and hopefully we can help them out in the long run, you know. But like leading up to like it's almost a week till Christmas, I think.
Yeah.
already.
Somebody just told me it's next
Staff
week
fast,
Wednesday.
next week Wednesday already.
Nuts.
And you know what's crazy? Like, it's weird how I see sometimes in social media, sometimes even friends. I just recently looked up this article where it's like, it's weird how like wintertime has like the most like depression.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Something
yeah,
like that.
yeah.
And like it's crazy. Like, why do you think that happens around that time? Like, you know, there's a few examples in this article that I'm looking at over here where it's like, it tells you like you're worried about money, you're not moving enough because it's cold, like things like that. Like, what else do you think the reason why? Like,
Some people lost their family, right? Some people aren't in a relationship, but they see people, you know, out with people.
And that gets magnified even more during Christmas time, right? You see couples out
Yeah.
and everything like that, then you're like, oh, I'm alone. Like, it's
Yeah.
weird too how a lot of people like want to be specifically only during Christmas, December time, like they want to be with somebody, but any time of the other years, they're like, it's not as bad, right?
Yeah.
But like Christmas time, like, I kind of want to be with somebody, right?
You know what's funny? In Japan, Christmas is about your boyfriend and girlfriend or your relationship.
More so than
with
the
your
actual
person.
religion.
Yeah, and then New Year's is for your family. So Christmas is very much a couples thing. So that's why a lot of Japanese people get depressed. Well, my friends told me when I lived up there, but they said, Christmas is hard for us because we're single, and it's hard to find somebody else because they work so much. but Christmas is about relationships, being with your boyfriend or girlfriend. And I was like, oh,
that's why they always do a lot of Christmas anime episodes like that.
Yeah,
where just the guy trying to find a girl for Christmas. That makes sense. I didn't know that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So I mean, in America, it's more about like, you know, they say Jesus' birthday and stuff like that. But I feel like it's a time when, you know, you're with people that you love and stuff like that, and some people just realize like, ooh, who do I go to, or you know, and it's sad that way. But like,
you think also too, because like maybe it's because it's the end of the year too, and that's another thing that adds on to, right? It's like did I do anything this year? Did I accomplish what I wanted to accomplish this year? Then you get depressed if you didn't, right? Achieve certain things. And you're like, oh, I wasted another year, kind of thing, right? That's why I think this month in general, or winter time in general, is just like everyone's so like, you know, you either get depressed or you're not or whatever. But it's like, I feel like people are a lot more depressed during this time. That could be it too, right? Because like, you know, you never achieved your goals during the. You already have so many days left of it, and we're coming up to another decade, right? Right, the decade's over, so it's like another 10 years gone. It's crazy, right?
Yeah.
But even that too, like, I don't know. When you think about a decade, you're like, it didn't seem like much. Right? Like, I don't know. I feel like it's got another decade more to go, right?
Yeah.
It's weird.
That's why like it's really neat. People always put age into the equation of your life, you know, like, oh, but you're this old, or I'm getting this old, or whatever. But to tell you the truth, I stopped counting after like 35. But in my mind, I'm still like 20 something, you know? And so the things I do and the decisions I make never have to do with my age. And that's why when people ask me how old I am, I'm like, I forget. Oh yeah, 41. But it doesn't matter to me. And people who say, oh, I'm old, I don't say that because I don't believe it. I'll probably have a midlife crisis later down the road or whatever, but you know, like when I can't go to the bathroom by myself or something. But I mean, if you're functional and you can do stuff and like just be active or whatever, like it doesn't matter how old you are, right? Like what if we got rid of calendars? What if we got rid of keeping track of the days?
Yeah.
You know, would you say you're old? Maybe you're 18 years old and you think you're old. Maybe you're 70 something, you think you're young. But it doesn't matter, right? As long as your body can do it, your mind can do it. So
you know what's funny? Like even like, you know, I said in the last podcast, I recently just turned 30, and like, you know, age is such a weird concept where it's like when you're young, like you ever thought of this too? Like when you're young back then, you look up at people that are older than you, then you see like grandpas and all of that, or grandmas, grandpas. Then you're like, man, they're so old, right? Yeah. When you're young, right? When you look up, you're like, man, they're so old. Like, damn, what am I gonna do when I'm that age or whatever, like that, right? But then when you're older and you look down, then you're like, man, I still feel like those young kids like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's weird, right? Yeah. And I imagine those grandmas and grandpas, when they look at us, looking at them, they're like, man, I still feel like your age right now too. You know what I mean? It's weird, right? How that works, and it's hard to put perspective of that for especially the younger crowd, where they're like they look at you, you're at a certain age, above 30, even above 30, they're like, oh, you're older, you're above 30. But then us above 30 or whatever, we're like looking back at them like, man, I still feel the same age as you. I can still go. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and it's weird, right? How that that's a mental thing, or I don't know what it is, but
perspective.
Perspective, right?
Yep.
And it's not until you get those certain ages where you're like, you look back and you're like, man, it don't matter.
Right.
But then back when you're young, you're like, man, I'm scared. Like, I'm getting close to it. I'm getting close to there. But I'm like, it's so weird how that works, right? It's like backwards, but then you're looking up another way.
That is a way.
Have you ever
question,
thought of that?
Yeah. Like, what are you afraid of then? What is it? Turning 30 or turning 35 or 40? Like, what is it that you're afraid of? Because I don't know. To me, I don't care.
You're right.
You know, I don't even really celebrate my birthday.
Because do you think that too? Like you have, and you go to cons, you do the events, you do the cons too, right? Do you look down at the younger generation and that you're like, man, I still feel like they're like, I have their energy too. Like I can go. Like, you know, I still feel like
I don't even think about that. You know,
right?
It's funny. Like I don't even think about age. Like to me, it's just, I don't know. Like,
I mean, it's more so. Let's say, like, you know, like you and Jimmy, right?
Yeah.
Like, there's obviously an age gap there, right, in a sense, but you still feel like you guys are like could be friends of the same age, kind of thing, right?
Exactly.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So you don't look at people in terms of like, oh, I should be at a certain position because I'm older than you, or
I
this,
never
right?
say that. No.
Or either or. It's like, it's like you treat them as equal because you're like,
Yeah.
right? It's weird how that
Yeah.
works, but it's weird how the younger people are looking at someone older. They're like, "Ah, that dude's old," or they have that meme going on right now. It's called I don't know if you heard of it. It's called OK Boomer, where they call the generation. What generation is that? The Boomer generation, the baby boomers.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So like they tell them like, oh, like okay Boomer, like just stop talking,
Yeah,
right? And they
yeah,
just start
yeah,
rambling like
yeah.
that, right? And that's the meme going on right now,
Yeah.
where like the younger generation is hating on the older generation because it's like yeah, we don't want to hear what you're talking about, like enough of that, right?
Yeah.
But it's like it's
Back
weird.
in my day.
Right, back in my day, like we
Yeah,
don't want to hear the back in my day thing, right? But it's like it's weird because it's like for them, the older people, they're like there is no back in my day in a sense because like I feel like they might feel like they're the same age too mentally.
Yeah.
Mentally. Do you actually ever think of that, like mental age versus physical age?
I don't, because I think my mind is still like I'm 12. I don't know. No, seriously, like I don't. Yeah, it's weird because I think at one point when I was 20 something, I was thinking like, how do you know if you're old or not? Like I don't know why I was even thinking that. Like, how do you know? Because I feel like I'm old compared to these 12, 14, 15-year-olds. And I think I'm young compared to these 40-something-year-olds. But how do you know? I mean, maybe your back gets sore, you don't recover as fast,
But that's like physical age. That's what I'm saying.
right?
Like physical age versus your mental age.
Yeah,
right?
see? So mental age, I don't know. Like, am I not supposed to be dressing up as Goku with like a tattered shirt and my arms hanging out because I'm 40, 41?
Right.
Is there a rule?
Right.
I don't know.
That comes to like people saying like accurate age, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like, what is that?
Right. What is my age? Is it based off of how long I was on Earth, or
is it based off of your perception of what age should be?
Yeah.
Like, oh, you shouldn't be dressing up as Goku during the cons because you're like, you're over 35 or whatever like that, right? Like, or you're married like that. You shouldn't be doing stuff like that too, right? It's like, why?
Yeah,
Like,
and I get it, but I don't care.
Right.
I don't care. Like, I've never dressed up in my life. Well, maybe when I was young, but I never dressed up for Halloween or anything like that. Like, I'm just not a dressing up person, but doing that, it was like so fun, right? And who's gonna tell me you shouldn't be doing that? Like, why? Tell me why then. Oh, because you're old. According to who?
Yeah, according to who?
Right? Like, okay, that's cool, but is there a rule? Like, can you show me the rule that says you cannot, after a certain age, dress up? Right? Like, I get it, but I don't get it. Like.
Besides,
just,
like embarrassing your kids or something like that, then you shouldn't dress up. But other than that, right? Like they'll tell you the rules, but other than that, like there is no rules. Like I don't
it's
get why
fun,
people,
right? And
right. As long as you're having fun, and I don't get why people put the pressure on themselves mentally, being like, oh, I shouldn't act this way during this age, or I shouldn't be doing these kind of things during this age. But if you're enjoying it, like why are you gonna stop?
Right, because what, you're gonna die unhappy because you didn't get to experience things that made you happy. Like I had no idea dressing up as Goku was gonna make me that happy and that, like, wow, this is so fun.
Right.
I'd be walking and I forget I was dressed up with Jimmy, and then people would stop and like, hey, can I take your picture? I'm like, how come? Oh, that's right, I'm dressed up.
Right?
Yeah, it's like, oh, my company, that's really cool. Or, oh no, it's because I'm cool. Okay, cool. Wow, it's a different feeling,
Right.
But that's not the part that I like. I just like that, like, I was a character that I really enjoyed watching when I was a kid, And I'm just so blessed that Jimmy does things like that. I met Jimmy and we hooked up and he let me use his costume. It was so fun. But I totally relate now to everybody at the cons. Like, I see why you do it. It took me 2 years doing cons until I did it, and then I realized, but I just thought, like, man, you guys are so passionate about what you do. That's so awesome. I like being around you guys. But now that I dressed up, it's like, holy moly. You guys, I get it. I get it.
Yeah.
I totally get it.
How'd you meet Jimmy? Did you meet him at a con?
Yes. So I think it was a Koi Con. We brought out the Green Dragon. We sold out the first day. We sold out the second day. So we came back to the kitchen. The third day, I came late because I was still bagging on myself. I pretty much stayed up all night doing it. And so I guess it was a big hype. So there was a line, and Jimmy was the first in line.
For the Green Dragon.
But he was buying it for his friend. So when I came in, they're like, oh, this guy was waiting in line from like this morning. He was the first one. And I was like, oh, that's so cool. So I went and I talked to him, and after that, like the next con we did, I think he did his Ghost Rider and stuff like that. I told him, you know what? Instead of pushing your bike around, why don't you just leave it in our booth? And then I looked and there was an empty booth across, and I was like, you know what? Go leave it there, and if somebody says something, I'll move it back to my booth. So he did.
Okay.
But after that, we just kind of got to talking, and I found out he was an artist and stuff like that, and I'm like, oh, I always look to help people. You think you could maybe do a logo for us? And he's like, yeah, I could try. And so he designed something, and then we went through a bunch of different trials of it, and then it came out to that, and I was like, yes, that's the one. Then I realized, man, this guy's super talented, and so I let him be in our booth in one of the Comic-Cons, but he was still kind of doing the cosplay stuff. So he was leaving his booth empty, but there's so many people that came by. So I told him, you can choose the cosplay stuff and I'll support you. You can choose the art stuff and I will support you. But you have to think about, like, what are you gonna do for your future? Is the cosplay stuff gonna make you money and are you gonna be happy doing it? Or is the art stuff gonna make you money and are you happy doing it?
Right.
Either way you choose, I'm gonna support you. And he's like, oh, you're right. And I said, you know how many people came to your booth, like looking for you, and they wanted to talk to you about your stuff? And so I think the next one he did, he actually just stayed in his booth. He kept it open. He got an Artist Alley booth or something like that. And he did well. And then he realized, like, oh man, this is what I should do. And I told him, good. Okay, I'm gonna make a store and I want you in here and just bring your stuff. And I just told him today, because I always kind of told him, but I said, this storefront part, I feel like is yours as well as mine.
Mm-hmm.
So however you want to decorate it, whatever you want to do, just run it by me and I'll probably say, yeah. If you want to take everything off and just make it all your stuff, we'll do it.
Right.
I just have this because he wasn't bringing in his stuff at the time. I'm like, hey, you gonna bring it? Oh yeah. Like it took him forever to bring this, but it's only because his inventory is kind of low,
Right.
But I told him, geez, we can figure stuff up with all your stuff. The space up with all your stuff. And my goal is just to help you. I just want to promote you.
Right.
And I told him, like, you got to realize that you're a lot of steps above everybody else now, because a lot of people have to go to art galleries and stuff like that because they don't have a store. But I told him, you have a store.
Mm-hmm.
So use it. And then he realized, like, oh yeah. And then he did this and that. And it's doing so well. And I'm so proud of him. I'm like, yeah, that's good. And then he comes and he helps me a lot too, Like he'll even go home and come back at night because he knows I'm going to be here working, Like, that's unreal, because he is grateful for things I've done, even though I don't expect him to be.
Right.
If I help somebody, I don't expect anything back. I really don't. But when it does come back, it's like amazing, And Jimmy does that for me all the time. I told him, I'm super lenient in this place. Like, if you want to come in at 11, you can. If you want to come in at 9, you can. But it's totally up to you. You stay however long you want.
Mm.
And I've told that to a couple people, and they kind of take advantage of it. But Jimmy, he's here, 9 o'clock. He lays the dehydrators by himself. And then I come in. Oh, I've been coming at 9, but today I came in like 11, let's say. And all the dehydrators are loaded already. And he stays till 4:30 until he has to go. And to me, it's like, wow, that's awesome, because I told you, you make your own hours. If you want to stay here 2 or 3 hours, you can.
Right.
But no, he just wants to help me. And I'm like, wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Because I void out the part where I feel like I'm helping him. So him helping me is just like, wow, you're doing it. You're helping me. Thank you. Yeah.
I think that's good to have that kind of mentality too, right? Like not expecting or
Mm-hmm.
having zero expectations.
Yeah. Because
like,
then
others.
you're helping people is for a reason, right? Like
Right.
you're doing it because you're going to help me.
You want something out of
Right,
it.
And that's the hard part about life. It's like people are wary of people that want to help people, right? Like,
Right.
oh, you want something from me, that's why you're going to help me. But if I help you move your house or move houses, I wouldn't expect you to help me move my house. Like, I've done that for countless amounts of people because I had a truck at the time. But when I moved from my wife's grandma's house to our new condo, I never asked anybody for help. I actually hired movers. We couldn't afford it. I didn't have much money, but I was like, I don't want to burden anybody. But she's like, but you help this person. But that's not why I did it. I never in there thought like, oh, because I helped you, you got to help me. But that's the mentality nowadays, yeah.
But do you have like a balance in terms of like something like that where it's like, I don't know, sometimes like every action you kind of do,
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you might need to be a little selfish and it, you
Mm-hmm.
you might need it to have it benefit you, right? You can't do everything being like, oh,
give,
right, like that, right?
Yep.
So it's like, how do you find that balance of being like give with zero expectations, but also giving with the hope that, or not even the hope, like I don't want to say like you're expecting something, right? Hope, like just giving, knowing that you will gain something out of it too. You know what I mean? Because you gotta kind of pick and choose,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like you can't just be
Yeah.
give. You can't be like to the guy coming out of nowhere. You don't know who he is. All of a sudden, here I'm gonna give you all the money in my cash register
Yeah.
because I felt like it today, right? Because I felt like giving. There's things you can't do, obviously, right? So like, where do you see yourself finding that balance of like, you
That's
know?
something I struggled with a lot, but I realized because I really thought about it. Like, wait, what am I expecting? I gotta expect something, and I do. All I expect is gratitude. Just be thankful. Thank you so much, and I really appreciate it. That's why I'm that way. Like, my friend Alan, who is the president of Kolo, his son comes in, and he helps me at night, and he works so hard. And I'm texting him at night, hey, thank you so much. I really appreciate you doing that for me because then it freed me up to do something else, you know. And I'm constantly trying to thank people because I would expect that. I would want somebody to feel like, you know, I understand what you did for me. Thank you for that, you know. And that's all. That's it. I don't like. There's other vendors and stuff like that where I give them discount or I help them or whatever. But when I buy stuff from them, I tell them, don't give me a discount. Not because I have a lot of money, but because I want to support you and I don't expect you to give me a discount. If you offer it, that's really cool because you get it and you're grateful for me helping you. But I didn't expect that. But the moment I feel like you just didn't appreciate it, that's when I stopped helping. You know, like I have that a lot too, you know? Like I would give people discounts and stuff and then all of a sudden they're coming in, they're expecting it. So when does it stop being gratitude and start being expected? Because when it starts being expected, that's when I stop it.
That's the tough part, though. Like
It very much
out,
is,
because there's a fine line,
Mhm.
right? There's a really fine line in figuring out like whether I'm doing this because I expect something and it's gonna benefit me versus me just doing it because like, you know, gratitude and all of that. It's tough. I don't know. Sometimes I feel I have that hard time figuring out that balance too. And I've been slowly getting better at it, you know, like doing things just cause. Like, recently I actually was cleaning up the house and I had a bunch of garbage and I went to the dump, right, to dump it, and then you know how it's like a one-way going in, you dump the stuff and there might be a guy in the front still dumping his stuff, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, I dumped my stuff pretty quick and I went to the front and then there was this guy like dumping like his old, like I guess he cut down like a tree or something and there was just all tree parts or the, you know, branches and stuff like that in the back of his truck. But this dude was like taking forever in a sense because he was only grabbing one branch at a time and throwing it in, right? Like he wasn't old or anything. He was just like one of those old, like, you know, Filipino uncle guys, you know, like showing the belly, everything like that. You know what I mean? Just like over there. But he was like grabbing it one at a time and just putting it in. And I'm like, oh, I was over there behind him. I'm like, come on, like I'm gonna be waiting here forever if I just like sit there, right? But I'm like, you know, I thought to myself like, maybe I should just go help him because he was by himself, right? Like maybe I should do it. And I went out and, you know, I put my gloves on and I just grabbed the branches and I went up to him. I was like, hey, uncle, you need help? Like that, you know? He's like, oh, yeah, you know, if you like it. And so I started just grabbing branches and throwing it with him, right? And stuff like that. And there was and then another line started forming behind us because the other cars started piling up too, right?
Yeah.
So like I was just helping him getting it all done. And it took about like 10 minutes or so to get it all done. But if he was by himself, it could have easily took 30 minutes because it was it was weird. He was taking his time, but you know. And then that happened, and I was driving home, and I was thinking like, did I do that because I wanted to get out of there as soon as I can? Or did I do that because I actually wanted to help, you know? And I think it's a little bit of both sometimes, right? Yeah. And that's what I'm saying. It's that weird fine line where it's like, I think you decide to do it, you get motivated to do it because it benefits you, but at the same time you did it because it was a nice thing to do.
Yeah.
You know
but that's a good start.
Right.
That's where it starts because you gotta start somewhere because you could have just sat in your car and
on
your phone.
On my phone, right? Exactly.
Right, but you took the time because you thought about it. Hey, maybe I could help this guy because it will go faster. You didn't have to do that, you know, but you did, and that's awesome because now it starts training you. Like, wow, I kind of liked how I felt. Like he felt, you know, grateful that I helped him, and that was a good feeling. I like that. Like he felt helped. He felt like he's not alone in this world for a split moment. Because somebody out of the blue came and helped. Right? And that's what I think we need more of. Just to not feel alone in this world because somebody will come and help you get off the ground or help you do something when you didn't expect it. Right? To me, that's beautiful. it doesn't happen very often, but when it does, it's like you gotta recognize that it happened and how it made you feel at the time, right? Like that was the greatest feeling. I needed help and I thought I was gonna do this by myself. Somebody came out of the blue, help me. That's what I want to spread. That's what I mean by the ripple in the pond, because now maybe he was grateful and maybe he might see somebody doing that and like, hey, I remember when that guy would help me, so hey, let me help this person. And you never know. Yeah, that's what I always talk about, but that's how it starts, you know, just doing, even if it does benefit you, it's okay. Like I say, people who do the pay it forward thing and post it all over Facebook, yeah, at least you paid it forward. That person probably didn't know that you're gonna go post it all over Facebook, but how did you feel when you got a free Starbucks thing or whatever, somebody paid for your stuff, right? You felt grateful, and then now you're gonna do it, and then they're gonna do it. So it doesn't matter the motivation, I think, as long as the action gets done, right?
I think so, right?
Because that's the start of it, you know? Like I told you in our podcasting the very first time about how I saw this homeless guy walking out with his slippers, and I happened to have slippers in my car, so I was late for a meeting, but I was like, you know what, this guy needs it. So I went around the block because there's a one way. I came back around, I saw him, and I gave it to him, and I was like, hey, here, I have another pair in my house, but I see you don't have slippers. And he's like, what? And I was like, yeah, you need slippers. You got blisters all over your feet. And he started crying, and I was like, well, I didn't expect that. He was so happy, you know. But I mean, I felt so good thinking that I helped somebody, you know, when everybody else just passes them by. Everybody else saw the same person. Yeah, probably people had slippers or shoes or whatever in their car, but they didn't do it. But to me, it's like, we're neighbors. We're neighbors in this world. So you need help. I have what I would help you out. Here you go. Because how much is a pair of slippers, right? But how much does that gesture cost? Nothing. Oh, it costed me time.
Right.
They're kind of mad because I was late for the meeting, but to me, it's like,
I think that too. That's a good point. Like, it doesn't hurt, right? Like me getting out of the car to go help the guy, whatever. It doesn't hurt. Like, it didn't hurt anything. Like, right. Like, so why not?
Yeah, you got some extra cardio. I mean, you made somebody feel better. You know, like you made somebody feel supported. That, man, if I need help, maybe somebody will come. You know, who knows? Like, you know, people don't pray or like believe in this or that except when things go terribly wrong. That's when people, oh God, please save me, please help me, right? But how come it only takes you going through something so terrible in order for you to ask that way? Because what if everybody just helped each other? Maybe it wouldn't get that bad where you have to try to ask for it. It'll just happen. I know I'm not explaining it well, but you know, just trying to be there for everybody, treating everybody like your friends or your family in this world, I think makes a huge difference, you know?
Yeah.
And then you start radiating that. But then again, you gotta look out because some people will start expecting it, right? Instead of being grateful for it. Oh yeah, I have canned soda and I remember like all these people helped me the last time, so I'm just gonna sit here and make like I don't know how to do it, or I can't do it, so somebody else comes and does it, right? Like, it happens. And that's when people start shutting down, like, oh, I don't want to help if you're gonna start expecting it.
You know what's funny how like you mentioned like that, and that's I guess a person's perspective of like they're either gonna be cynical about people or always think of the best in people, right? And a lot of things that have been happening recently, like within my family, and me and my cousins been joking about, is like how my mom and my aunties them would like headline read a lot of like the Facebook posts that's been happening recently. Like you see like a shooting in Hawaii, especially Hawaii. Like I don't know, like for some reason everyone keeps posting like, oh, this happened in Hawaii, shooting, or someone got robbed. The 87-year-old woman or whatever got robbed in Kalihi, right? Like that, and then like, you know, that's bad and all that. And when I leave to go to the post office to drop off mail, because I always go late at night, and my mom's like, oh, where are you going? And then like, oh, I'm going to the post office, drop off. And she's like, oh, you better watch out. Like when you go post office, you know, dropping it off over there, it's late already. You know, go get the crazy people out there. And I'm like, and I joke around with my mom, like, what? Why I gotta worry about the crazy people? I'm one of the crazy people. Like, you know, I tell my mom that. But like, you know what I mean? How people automatically assume already that it's bad already out there. You know, just one or two articles will already scare you versus not even looking at the positives. Like no one glorifies the positive of being like, there's so much better stuff that happened within that day, I assume, or that week, but we only glorify the negative that happened.
Do you know why?
What I mean?
Because that's what people are interested in.
Exactly. That's why
People want to read that kind of stuff.
Right.
Because who wants to read about rainbows and butterflies?
Yeah.
When, oh my God, you know what happened today? This guy got shot. Oh, so and so got into a big fight.
Or you know what I think too, also, like, it's also like, how did that affect me too? Because like when something positive happens, it didn't happen to you. So it's it's like, why do I care that didn't happen to me? I didn't win the Mega Millions.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Or something like that. But then when they see a shooting or something like that, or someone got not kidnapped, but like if someone get robbed, then they're like, oh, that could happen to me. So I should pay attention to it. Right?
Yeah.
Versus like something good happening to somebody, oh, that could happen to me too. Like you don't automatically think that, right? It's weird how that works.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it's a lot of headline reading right now. And I tell my mom and my auntie, I'm like, why are you guys so focused on the one negative that happened? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, why not focus on the positive that happened that week or something? Like, you know, like no need to worry about the one. Like, yes, it's sad. You know what I mean? And like especially that old lady that got robbed and she got dragged a little bit and stuff like that. But like to have yourself be so scared to even leave the house because you're like, oh, you know, that might happen to me. I'm like, you have to go out of the house. Like, you know what I mean? You have to take that risk to just like, you know, something might happen. You can't control what is going to happen. Like if I went out to the post office and I did get robbed or something like that, then it happened. I couldn't prevent it by not going out. You know what I mean? Like it was just supposed to happen. So I don't like that mentality.
Yeah.
Sometimes people think of like headline reading of being like, I shouldn't do this or I shouldn't go out because, you know, I'm scared or something like that.
You know what's funny is I have a lot of policemen friends, and they said if they posted every time something like that happened, the news would just non-stop be that way.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of stuff that doesn't get public, you know?
Right.
But they said, oh man, there's so many things behind the scenes that nobody sees, and then some things go mainstream and people just freak out.
Right.
Right? I'm like, oh, I never thought about that. Wow.
But it's so crazy. Like I said, like people only focus on those negative ones though.
Yeah.
That's so much. And I don't know, man. Like it's just like irritating to me sometimes. Like you guys don't understand. Like it's safe. It's like still safe. Like you know what I mean. To a certain degree, like it's safe to go out. Like you don't need to be worried about like every single time someone's gonna rob me or something. You know what I mean? Like yes, you should be cautious, but like don't let it affect your whole life. Being like, oh, watch out. Like you know what I mean? Like,
but that's what I mean. Like you know, you look for the bright spots.
Right.
Because if you want to look for the dark, it's always there, right? And then that's your perspective. It's like, okay, shooting. Oh, I ain't going out of the house. Or like, oh, I don't know, this cancer research thing was successful and they found this thing for cancer. And, oh, because of donations from this company, you know, or whatever. You know, you can just look for the more positive things and just be like, wow, life is beautiful. People help each other. And, you know, good things happen. Or, man, that sucks. Like Hawaii sucks because there's so much shooting, there's so much robberies. But you know, it depends on what you want to look at, right? Because you want to look at the negative stuff. You'll find them. You can find plenty of stuff that's all negative. You know, you have those friends that just post negative things. Oh, poor me.
Yeah.
And then you have the friends that are just like, man, this awesome thing happened today, and you know whatever, and they're posting more positive things. I'm sure there's negative things that happen, but
you know what's funny too? I think more people are scared to post the positive things than the negative things.
because it shows feeling.
No, because it shows that like this is happening to me, so you should like be envious or something like that. They're scared of that. They're scared to post like hey, I worked my ass off, I did this, whatever, and I bought a house. They're scared to post something like that because the other person that's looking like, oh, look at this guy showing off his house, right? Or look at this guy showing off that he got a new car or he got new this. But like you wanted to post it with a good intent of being like, I worked my ass off to get this house, or I did whatever to get this job or whatever. And I just wanted to post about it because I feel happy that I'm at this position. But they're scared to post it because someone's gonna be like, oh, look at this guy saying like, oh, he's better than me because he has this or he has this, you know what I mean? And it's scary how like more people feel comfortable posting the negative versus the positive stuff. Yeah. Right?
You know, and I think it goes back to like people are trying to look for what people will give them the best response off of. Yeah. Like, you post about your house because you worked hard about it, for it and stuff, and people will post negative about it, you know, or think negative about it. It's kind of bad. And that's just the way the world is, you know?
Right.
Because there's a fine line between being arrogant and being humble. It's really, there's a fine line between it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like trying to be humble enough to kind of encourage people to do it, but at like that littlest thing you say, people might take it as, oh, you're
Take
being
it
arrogant,
wrong, right?
right? It's not that I'm arrogant. It's just, man, maybe I can make that message out, put that message out there. Like, if you work hard, you can get what you want. You just gotta work hard. You know, you don't just sit on the couch and say, oh, you know.
I don't think it's on the positive person though. Like they don't have control over that. It's more on the negative person, the cynical person side, where his mentality is all like wired wrong, where it's like they're looking at them and being envious and like blaming them for their own shortcomings.
Yeah.
Versus being like, maybe if I do something, I could get to that position too.
Yeah.
Rather than just be like, no, that's not wrong. I don't like that on my feet. Like, you know, like because I'm not at that position, right? They don't want to look at themselves first, being like maybe if I do something, I could end up like that too, right? And I think that's why I'm like, people should just post more encouraging or positive stuff like that. Post positive things. Don't be afraid. Like even sometimes too, like I would double, not like hesitate. I guess is the word, hesitate to maybe post these kind of content and videos, because like sometimes I think like, do I want to be judged about what I say and stuff like that, right? Like, because someone's going through life in their own way. So when I say something, they might not gel with it, or they might not see it the way I see it, and like, do I want to, you know, like conflict with that or something, you know? And it's tough, but I know for a fact that sometimes like we need to post more things like this, talk about more things like this, because no one is.
Right,
and if no one is talking about stuff like this, we're sure as hell talking more about the negative stuff. And that's what, you know, like what you said, like that's what sells in a sense, like getting more popular. More people want to read that or hear that. Why not we talk about more of the positive, and people get more used to that, and that becomes the normal. So when someone decides to post something positive, you don't even bat an eye. You're like, oh, that's cool, like, you know, good for him. You know?
Yeah. So, you know, it comes down to like that well theory I have. People at the bottom of the well don't want to see people get up, because they don't want to try to get up either. So what they do is try to drag you back in there, right? I just had this conversation with my friend. People talk bad about people to make themselves feel better, that they're one up on this person. That's why people talk bad and try to spread rumors and like talk bad to their friends, because they want to make themselves feel better about their life. But really, it shouldn't be that way. It should be the opposite. Where like, hey, congratulations, good job. But really, it's like, oh, this guy, you know, like, what an asshole posting this kind of stuff. And, you know, he sold drugs, or, you know, it starts saying stuff so that you feel like, okay, yep, I have something on him. Because there are a lot of people like that in the world who try to nitpick and find everything wrong with somebody so that they feel superior, right? But in my mind, I'm not superior to anybody, because I get up in the morning, I still put my clothes on, brush my teeth, just like everybody else, you know? So I can die just as easy as this next person, right? Being a business owner, being married, having a family, that doesn't make me invincible. It doesn't mean that I'm not gonna get killed if I get shot in my vital areas or whatever, just like everybody else. So what makes you superior, and who tells you you're superior? If you want to feel that, then feel it. But you don't have to drag people down because of it, you know? But that's just the mentality of a lot of people. They want to use people to try to step on them to get out of the well. But they realize the well keeps growing and growing because they're not going anywhere. Because when they look back down, they realize, I didn't go anywhere. I thought I was stepping on these people getting up higher, but I didn't move, because you're not making yourself better. You're just trying to put everybody else down to make yourself feel better, but it didn't work. You know, in the long run, people will just not like you or realize what you're doing, or you're just not gonna be happy with yourself, because how many other things and how many other people are you gonna treat that way, right? That's why some people just don't have many friends, because they do that kind of stuff, you know? But like I was saying, I always had a lot of good friends, because my mentality, not to say I'm perfect, I'm nowhere near perfect, but my mentality is, if you succeed at something, I'm gonna be maybe happier than you are, because I know you, and that's awesome, that's so great, you know? And I'm cheering for you because you're in my circle. And in my circle, all it is this bunch of fertilizer that's growing everybody. That's how I look at it. If you're my friend, I'm just gonna fertilize the crap out of you and try to make you grow.
Yeah.
And if you succeed, awesome. You don't even have to give me credit. But just for me to feel like you're my friend and you're up there, wow, that's so great, you know? That's how I look at it. And I don't even know how I came up with that, but I realized that maybe in high school, I think. You know, just being happy for people. And then I realized like people appreciate that, you know? They don't wanna be arrogant, they don't wanna, you know, whatever. But here's David telling me what a great job I did. Wow, you know,
Right.
Does that really happen? Because most people will be like, so, what else you got, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a tough one, man. Yeah.
I think that's a good place to leave this off. We're already 1 hour in already. Faster. But
Wow.
do you have any parting words or is there a question for the people to ask them, or if we do a question of the day or something, ask them and we can get some feedback. Like, what do we want to hear from them?
The day. Yeah, I'm pretty sure you have one. You do it.
I'm trying to figure out. Well, I don't know. I just come up with it. If there is people listening all the way till the end of this 1 hour in already, question: was there anything you guys did recently that change your perspective on like how I did help the guy throw away the trash? Like, did you do something recently that changes perspective on people? Like, you're not being cynical about them. Not everyone you meet is negative or something like that. Like, did it change your perspective? Let me know in the comments or whatever. DM us if there's something that happened recently that changed your mind. Change your perspective on things.
Oh, I got one. So I thought about it. People think that they cannot start doing this or start changing, or it's too hard, or whatever. So I was just talking to one of my friends about this because he's very much like, oh, but this, but that. So I said, okay, I think I might have mentioned it to you, but homework would be just thank one person a day for something that they've done for you. That's it. And you see how they feel and you see how you feel. And if it works, try 2 people, try 3 people, but try to be grateful and just see if it works for you. Because that's a better way to kind of feel better about yourself and other people, if you can appreciate things that they do or they show.
So just say thank you.
That's it. Yep.
Okay.
That's it. And
Okay.
see how it goes.
All right, guys, say thank you more and see how it goes. So this is episode 2
Yep.
of Thinking on the Toilet. We'll see you guys next time.
All right.